to play in the Premier League is a dream come true. That's what it's the best league in the world, and to play in that is incredible.
And hello, and welcome. It is me. It is at DOGG, and I am here, and I am so excited, and I just can't hide it. I'm about to lose control, but I think I'll like it. And I'm not alone. As always, I have my dear friends with me. Dear friend Sam. How are you, dear sir?
I'm very good. We're always excited, and it's lovely when we're all collectively excited together. So yeah, we're very excited for this one. You might be able to tell.
We are excited, and it's not just me and my dear friend Sam. It's also my dear friend Charlotte. Dear friend Charlotte, how are you?
I'm really good, thank you. How are you?
Oh, again, so excited that I've got my dear friend Sam and my dear friend Charlotte, and our special guest this evening, we hope, will also become a dear friend of the podcast, a former England international and Premier League footballer with both Wolves and West Ham, 445 professional appearances and 46 goals, with 205 of those appearances and 20 goals in the Premier League, as well as being the Atletico Madrid captain in my Football Manager save from FM14. It is the one and the only Mr. Matt Jarvis. And Matt, thank you very much for joining us. What can we say? We are so excited. And would you like to become our dear friend?
Oh, dear friend, indeed. Yes.
Dear, how are you on this wonderful summer's evening?
Fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, really good. It's the summer holidays for me at the moment with the kids off. So it's very entertaining, very tiring, but very good.
Sensational stuff. And obviously, a massive thank you from all of us for taking part. And in case you didn't know us, somehow above my head here is my dear friend Charlotte, as we've already said. I'll let you say hello, Charlotte, because we're all so excited. And there's Charlotte, and then that is Sam. You can say Sam. You can say hello, Sam. You can give him a little wave.
Hello, Sam.
But nobody's interested in us. We're all here. Everybody is here for you. Spotlight is on you, so no pressure at all. But we're all very excited to speak to you about you, and obviously former professional footballer. But where did it all begin, Matt?
Where did it all begin? Well, I've got an older brother who's nearly 3 years older than me. So growing up as a kid, I just basically tried to do everything he did. And he was playing football. To be fair, we did everything. We did football, swimming, athletics, cross country, absolutely everything possible at school. And maybe it was because my parents had two boys and they wanted to just get us out of the house. But yeah, we just played sport all the time. And obviously football was the main one. And being able to play with older kids at the time and playing with all of his mates was fantastic for my sort of development physically. Anyway, getting used to being smashed by everyone was quite a good upbringing, I think.
And where was the first club that you played? I mean, how did you get scouted? How did they find you? Where were you hiding?
Yeah, so I played locally. I grew up in Guildford, so I played for Guildford City. I then went to another club called Meadows Sports, which was just round the corner. I then went to a team called Epsom Eagles, and it was there that I then got scouted. And believe it or not, I actually got scouted by Millwall, and so I was there for in total about 7 years. I did a little. I was at Millwall, then did a little spell where I went to a centre called Paul Elliott Centre, which was like a West Ham based centre, and then that closed down, and I went back to Millwall. And then when it was time to sort of get a youth team contract, when you're like 15, 16, I got released from Millwall. I got told not good enough. Basically, went into a room and there was 4 coaches, and me and my dad went in, and cutting it short, it was like, yes, no. So it was like, and then when I come out, I was, absolutely distraught. As a 15, 16-year-old getting told you're not good enough, it was horrendous. Luckily for me, outside the door was a Gillingham scout called Bernie Dillon, and he was like, we've got a game tomorrow, come and play. And I just said no. And I went home, and luckily for me, this scout, Bernie, chased me for about 2-3 weeks. And eventually I agreed to go on trial. And to be honest, I was useless, but they must have seen something, and they offered me a contract, and it just instantly clicked for me. Everything changed round, and I played went on pre-season, did really well in my first year as a YTS, and then I played in the first team in my second year at 17. It was just from being told not good enough to playing in the first team at 17 in the Championship was about a year. It was incredible.
So someone made a bit of a mistake then. You can argue it more.
Anything.
Well, for that persons that made that decision. So you at Gillingham. How long were you there? And we have to ask. So we'd also do on our show. We have a lower league podcast because we're just absolute football. We cover everything here. And on our lower league show, we have a comrade in arms, Scoops, and he wanted us to ask you: are Gillingham massive?
Oh, massive. Honestly, I've got two clubs that are massive now. I've got West Ham and I've got Gillingham. So honestly, it's fantastic to see. I actually spoke before we actually came on to Charlotte and Sam about it. But I'm going in and been seeing Gillingham for last season, and I'm going again a couple of times this season, and hopefully do a bit more at Gillingham, because it's a fantastic club. I absolutely loved my time there. I was there I did a 3-year YTS, but in my second year I signed a 3.5-year pro. So I was there at 4.5 years ish, 5 years, and it was fantastic. It's where it all started for me. I loved the fans, loved my teammates, although there was hundreds of them because it was such a big turnaround. But it was just incredible, and it's really nice to now see them, new owners. The fortunes have changed, and they're doing really well to the start of the season. So fingers crossed for them. It can continue.
We've heard people speak about YTS. We did a previous podcast with Darren Ryan. He spoke about his time at the YTS, but there may still be some people that don't know what that means and what it entails. So, in your experience, how would you describe the YTS program?
It's just when you finish school, finish your GCSEs, you go in and you become like a scholar, which means that you're not quite a pro, you've not quite made it, but you're in that little area in between where you've got to work your ass off to actually get something. But it's one of them, I would say, definitely. It's very different nowadays to when it was when I started. It was a development of a person physically and mentally. It was tough, very tough, because you had to back then you had to clean all the boots, clean the change rooms. You had to do absolutely everything. You had to run up and down the stadium, and it was tough. And you had other chores and different bits that you get hammered for, and you had to sing at Christmas and get all sorts thrown at you. And yeah, it was an interesting time, but amazing. That's where you love, you learn to love everything about it. You're training. You're. For me, I was lucky at Gillingham. We were in and around the first team a lot. We trained at the same training ground, so you got to see the first team train. You got to, if they had a player that got injured or something, they would maybe chuck one of the youngsters up and train with them. So huge experience, huge learning curve. And at the time, we had some really, really good experienced pros that helped me out massively. So you still have to do some education at that age as well. So you were doing education in the afternoons or mornings before you train. So it's that little period before you get offered a professional contract. So yeah, you can either do 2 or 3 years, or depending on how well you're doing.
And like you said, you seen we were only in that for a short period of time before you signed professional. I mean, how did that feel to be rejected at one end and then so quickly manage to flip it on its head to get the full-time contract?
Honestly, incredible. I still remember now the journey home from being told no, and I remember thinking, I just want to play football with my mates. I don't want to play anymore. I just want to go and play Sunday league and doing all that, to then flipping a year and playing in a championship. It's just absolutely incredible. But I think sometimes when you get them knocked downs, it's how you turn and you get back up. And obviously for me, that was a huge turning point in my whole career in football and life, when I basically got told not good enough, and then I eventually got myself round to going on trial. It's just like the penny just drops with you, and you sort of understand what you do well, what you don't do so well, and how you can improve. And I was lucky. I've had I've got my family who's always been there with me. My parents were sports people as well, so they knew what I had to do, or the levels of commitment that you'd have to put into to get where you want to be.
I mean, you mentioned your parents here as sports people. Somebody in our pod was really organised and did an awful lot of research, and they said both your mum and dad are sports people. They're in fact champions at what they do. What sport is that they do?
They were both England #1 table tennis players. Which, strangely enough, I know, very random.
Transitions into football really well, I think.
It's crazy. My mum, they were table tennis players, both top England #1s. My mum won the European mixed doubles. There was all sorts. But yeah, something they didn't push us into really. But I still really enjoy it and play it, but it's the mentality of it all.
Yeah.
And I think it's very. I had very much like my dad and my mum. They were very, very different in the way that they went to every single game of mine, home and away, throughout my whole career. So I'm very fortunate in the sense that the support, the network that I had with them. But you had after a game, whether you played well, whether you played bad, you knew whether you did or not. And I'd go in and see them, and my mum would be, if I didn't play very well, my mum would be like, "Oh, you worked so hard, you never gave up, you were amazing," like that. And my dad would turn around and go, "So how do you think you played?" Oh yeah, it wasn't my best game. Yeah. So I always had a really good a line to keep me there rather than being there and there and there. It was very very helpful all the way through my journey.
Yeah, I mean, my parents actually are the way around. My dad goes, "Oh, you did really well," but my mum just goes, "That was crap."
That is literally mine as well. It's the same with me.
Exactly.
Well, there we go. We're lucky, aren't we?
But I have to. So, is that when they play a table tennis professionally? That's when they're like 20 foot from the table, isn't it?
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's crazy. Like, my dad was the England head coach for about 30 years. So like it was. I remember as a kid, he used to like tease me really because I was too small. I couldn't reach the middle of the table, so he used to put the bat and like do a serve, and it'll bounce on my side, and go back onto his, and I'd just be like trying to get to the middle of the table. Incredible.
It's a joys of pit. That's why you have kids to torment them, isn't it? But while you were watching them, there was a few accolades that you had there. I mean, we've got here the PFA's League One. You were in the Team of the Year, and Gillinham's Young Player of the Year. You had a lot of interest at that time, according to Wikipedia and the notes that we have found. What was it like when you were sort of, and when did you feel like perhaps it was time to leave? How did that all come about, and how did that feel?
Yeah, it's difficult to sort of say a specific time, but obviously I'd had it drilled into me to just basically just don't think about anything else. Like, my parents, especially my dad, was like, "Don't worry about all of this," because everyone was saying about contracts, everyone was saying about moves and all of this, and it was just like, all you can do is focus on playing. So all you need to do is work hard, play well on the Saturday, and and I know it's a cliche, but it is all I tried to do. I didn't think about anything else. I didn't really know what that whole world of agency and everything like that was all about at that particular time. So I tried my best to just continue to play well week in, week out. And then you start seeing, papers and news articles and stuff like that. But obviously you get excited. It's nice to see. But at the end of the day, I this was during the season. There wasn't any transfer windows. And then building up to transfer windows, you start hearing more, and it's just one of them that if it happens, you don't really know. It goes pretty quick, and if it doesn't happen, there's so much talk going around it that you sometimes can get carried away or not start performing. So it's a testing time for, I was 17, 18, 19 at that point in my career, and it just came to the point that I was playing really well. I knew my sort of contract was up in it's probably about a year and a half's time, and I was playing really well, and I just decided that if I was to be able to go to that next level, that signing a new deal would make it a lot harder for me because of the fee that the club would be asking for and everything. So I stayed on my first contract I signed for the full 3.5 years, and just carried on playing as best I possibly could.
And I think, according to the notes we've got here, when you moved to Wolves, we were in the Championship at the time. I think were you 21? We've got on here at that point.
Yeah, I think it was about 2020. Yeah.
When you think about it in real life terms, that's awfully young to sort of make that. It's a big decision to go from a club that's given you this opportunity and allowed you to develop the sport that you love, to then think of yourself then, which you have to do in a short football career, to move on. That's young to make a big career decision like that. I mean, how did you find that? I'm assuming your parents helped you through that?
It's do you know what? It's really difficult. So I moved out at 16. Yeah, I moved out home. I stayed in digs at Gillingham. So, you have to grow up really quickly. And 16 years old is it's young. But you embrace it. It's all I wanted to do was play football. So you were in it, and it meant that we got picked up by the youth team manager in the morning, and we got dropped back in the evening. But it wasn't just in and out, because he was hanging around doing all sorts of stuff. So we had loads of time on our hands. So instead of just messing around, we all started to, either play two-touch or develop football and, do stuff that was actually going to help us rather than just messing around. So you do grow up really quickly. And so when it comes to the football side of things, obviously I then played in the first team for about two and a half years, nearly 3 years. And it was at the point that I knew I was playing well. I knew clubs were interested in me, and it was an opportunity for me to think, well, I wasn't going to stay. The Gillingham were in League One. I wanted to climb up the ladder and go as far as I possibly could. And the opportunity like that was something that I couldn't turn down. And even at a young age, you have to make these decisions.
Yeah, and on the podcast here, we are fans of an agricultural manager. We love something a bit rough and ready, and this is no slight. You went to Wolves with Mick McCarthy. We've got here, who was manager. What was that like?
I can honestly tell you, he is the best manager I've ever worked with. Absolutely. I still speak to him now. He is the biggest compliment I can give him. Is he's honest.
Yeah,
and there's nothing better than for a player than the manager being honest with you. I've been in so many times where you get pulled in on a Friday to the manager's office, and the manager goes, "You're going to be on the bench tomorrow, but you're going to play on Tuesday. So you're just going to sit on the bench tomorrow, but you'll play on the Tuesday." And then you're like, well, but anyway, you get on with it. Comes to Tuesday, and then you're on the bench again. And you go, well, hold on. He goes, oh, well, the team won, so I couldn't change the team. You got to play. That didn't happen with Mick. He would, if he did pull you in on a Friday, he would say to me, Jarvo, you're going to be on the bench tomorrow. These are my reasons, and say all the reasons. And I would sort of combat with like, no, I think this, and he'll go, look, completely understand, but you're going to be on the bench tomorrow, but I need you to be ready, because I'm going to need you to come on. I'm going to need you to help the team. I'm going to need you to do this. And you come out of that meeting going, I didn't agree with it, but I'm ready to help the team when called upon tomorrow if I come on. And that's how he kept our team and morale, and the whole focus was on the team rather than individuals. And apart from that, he was obviously an absolute character. The media, he had that aura about when he walked into a room, everyone was like, didn't say a word. It was brilliant, and he had really good staff around him. Terry Connor, Tony Daly were a huge part of my development at Wolves.
He seems quality. He's one of that you don't see enough of that sort of character in football.
There's so many gifs and stuff that you see when the balloon pops, and the other one when he's looking and stuff like that. He was brilliant. Honestly, I think a lot of people didn't quite know how to take him, but to his players, he was great, and he was on the training pitch all the time. He wasn't one of the managers that the coaches took it and he stood to the side or didn't come out. He was there every single day working with the team. and that's why a lot of people loved him, and a lot of people, would run through a brick wall for him because he was that type of manager.
Have you got a nice Mick McCarthy story you'd like to share that you're allowed to share? Because I want to know.
A nice one. I'll give you a nice one. Basically, when I first went to Wolves, I actually got injured in pre-season, and he come to me because obviously I hadn't even played. None of the fans, no one sort of knew. I was the first signing of Steve Morgan, who was the chairman at the time that had just taken over the club, and I was obviously distraught and like desperate to get back fit, and I was going to miss the first sort of 2-3 months of the season. And he sort of basically come in and saw me and was just like, look, I know you're disappointed, I know this, but all you've got to do is just make sure, don't rush it, take your time, get yourself right, and come back and then just show everyone what you can do. He said, I can relate to it because I made my bid move to Celtic and I missed the first 4 or 5 months of the season. He said, so as a manager, I know what you're going through. And he said, did you just take it easy? He was never one of the managers like, how long? Are you going to be there? You're going to be there? Come on. Obviously, that was probably further down the line. But at that point in time, he just knew how to handle players, and he knew that he could see that I was desperate to get back and play and prove. And he was really good with me, really good, and just helpful in the way that he approached it and the way that he sort of nurtured me back to playing. And then obviously once I was back fit, it was just hell for leather, and it was amazing. But there's so many other stories, but probably
I was going to say any outrageous ones that he wouldn't mind you telling.
Oh God, I don't know if there's any that he wouldn't mind me telling.
I won't tell him. I won't let him know we heard it from you.
I know, yeah. I mean, there's been a fair few absolute rollickings in the change room at half time or at the end of games where things would be getting thrown and kicked, but I don't think I can pinpoint one in particular incident. Honestly, I can't praise him enough. He was fantastic, and what sums him up is when he got sacked by Wolves. He went round everyone at the training ground. He knew everyone's name. He then went to the stadium and then went round the ticket office. Everyone at the stadium went round, knew everyone's name, shook their hand, said thank you, and he spent like a day and a half going to say goodbye to everyone. That's the type of character and person that he is. So he's crazy on the outside with the press and everything like that. But yeah, top manager.
And again, you excelled at Wolves. I mean, I think I did. I've lost my notes somewhere. You were awarded the Supporters Player of the Year and the Players Player of the Year, which I always think the Players Player of the Year I think is quite an accolade to have, because they see everything. They see everything that you do on the pitch, off the pitch, day in, day out. I mean, so during your time at Wolves, is there a particular highlight that you have?
Oh, there's many. I think on my first season we missed out on the playoffs by 1 goal. So I remember that pre-season the following year we come back, and it was one of them that you had that feeling in pre-season. You knew it was going to be a good season, and that start to the season. And then there's one particular game where we played Nottingham Forest at home and we won 5-1, and we absolutely flew out of the blocks in the first half. We were 4-0 up at half time, I think it was. And you just sort of knew from then on in that we were going to do well. We were going to, we didn't know we were going to win the league, but we knew we were on course to be, favourites and go on and kick on. And the Christmas dues always help around when you go away. Many trips to Dublin, I think, was on, which was needed. But there's so many times. There's obviously winning the league was absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. To be able to do it with games to spare as well, for the fans as well, to be able to celebrate it and do that. Trip to Vegas, which was nice at the end of that. But obviously
it stays in Vegas, obviously.
Yeah.
I know, we won't ask about that.
Even better story on that one was we actually, it was the season had finished. It was the last game. Everyone had obviously booked their holidays. And Steve Morgan came into the change room and was like, right, lads, basically just said, look, well done, congratulations. Oh, I'd pay for a trip to Vegas. And it was like, that was like amazing, but could you have told us like 3 weeks ago or something like that? but in the end, like luckily, I was like, fine, I'm on it. So there was 13 of us, I think, that went in the end. And it was one of them, because we booked so late, we were on different flights to get there. And our first flight was delayed, so we missed our like changeover leg to get there. And like the next flight, only 3 or 4 managed to get on. So I was one of them 4, by the way. I got on the flight. And then when we actually landed in Vegas, as we got our bags and just walking out of the thing, the rest of the lads turned up and came down. And it was just like the best feeling of everyone just arrived at the same time. And that was it. We were out. It was incredible first night.
I obviously, it's something that we can never experience, but to get in, I mean, it's the hardest league to get out of, we believe, the Championship, and to do it the way that you did, and then to play in the Premier League for the first time. What was that like?
Absolutely amazing. It's what I mean. That's part of that team and that morale and the way that we got promoted. Because I would say 95% of that squad had never played in that league. We were all desperate to do well and desperate to play there, and that's what sort of got us over the line, I think. And to play in the Premier League is a dream come true. That's what I still, it's the best league in the world, and to play in that is incredible. And I remember, I think one of the first games we played was we played away at Man City, and they just signed Robinho, I think. And I remember just standing in the tunnel and just looking and thinking, like, this is ridiculous.
Do you know what Robinho did the same thing? I thought we played in red.
Yeah, you're probably right. But it was just an amazing experience to start. But I don't know. I felt like the Premier League was a better fit for me. I actually loved playing in the Premier League. I loved the physicality, the tempo, the style of play. I think it all sort of helped me. So it was like I just sort of felt like I just hit the ground running and absolutely loved it. And the thrill for me was playing against international fullbacks every single week and trying to compare yourself and test yourself. And I just remember every game, it was like the first sort of few minutes I got the ball, all I did was try and just knock it and just sprint past him just to have a foot race, just to see if it was, if I beat him. And I was just like, this is going to be a great day. If I didn't, then you're like, right, I'm going to have to sort of maybe try and cut inside and do a bit. You have to sort of eye up what you're going to do. But it was phenomenal to play in the Premier League. And for me, I really enjoyed it. I think it worked for me. It helped me. And I performed.
Yeah, I keep losing my place. I'm really enjoying the conversation. I'm missing totally where I'm supposed to be. Because like I said, I mean, there was a couple of seasons you played there, and I mean, for a winger, your assists and your goals were quite consistent. Actually, I look through at all of your clubs. I think you pretty much scored in 10% of your appearances at every club, which can't knock that consistency. What does it feel like? What did it feel like when you scored your first Premier League goal? Can you remember who it was against?
You know what? You just put me on the spot now. I'm trying to think. I actually can't remember now. You put me on the spot. I should have had that one prepped, shouldn't I?
So should I.
Honestly, I remember my first actual professional goal was for Gillingham against Wolves, and it was the worst goal, but it was just that elation, and I just found myself I jumped on the striker called Mama Sidibe, who's like 7'5", and I just like jumped. I was like a little baby on top of that. He was holding me. It was just crazy. But to play in the Premier League and score in the Premier League, it's just a totally different feeling to anything else. I was I don't know whether I say lucky, but my position, I was always out wide, so I was always next to the crowd, and the way I played was trying to get the fans off their feet, and you can hear the rumbling when you get the ball to take players on, and you can hear everyone going, oh God. And it sort of spurred me on. I absolutely loved it. I think if I had a touch and sort of looked to turn back and the crowd sort of lifted, you thought, no, actually I'm going to go for it and try and take someone on. And so I'd had all of the home fans cheering me. I had all the away fans hammering me, but it was great. I loved it all because if you were getting hammered by the away fans, you knew you were actually doing all right. So I used to smile and then egg them on a little bit more, but it was great. And I think that all added to the excitement and the enjoyment of playing, and to then score when you're in front of all your fans there's nothing better. Honestly, it's totally different. I had the same sort of feeling, not quite the same, but when you assisted, because it was doing your role in the team, but doing it well, and you got something at the end of it. And I think that it's quite a surreal, amazing feeling.
Yeah, it's just wow. It's something like, as a fan, when you celebrate the goal, you can feel all that energy. Then to be the person actually creating that,
yeah, it's good. It's good. It's something I miss, I have to say.
I bet there can't be any high like it. Must just be sensational. But obviously, you did that consistently, and unfortunately, obviously, there was an end to your time at Wolves, which for Wolves I'm sure wasn't lovely. But you went over cross into West Ham, which is rumoured for a club record transfer fee at that time. I don't know how accurate that is. Somebody could be the porcupines.
No, it's actually true. Yeah.
So you're a record breaker. I mean, but that. I mean, but obviously, again, you've got to leave to for yourself, because ultimately it is a short career, and you have to be selfish in what you're doing, because it's not just yourself, it's yourself and your family. And I'm sure everybody appreciated that at the time. And with them sort of swapping places, one going on, one coming up, was it? I'm assuming it's an easy decision to stay, but how did that feel, having to make that move again from another club that gave you your first time in the Premier League? So it's all sort of first, and then you're having to move on. Was that again a difficult decision?
Oh, look, it was horrendous. I hated it. It was probably the worst position I've been in, is actual like on that sort of side of things and transfers and moving, because I absolutely loved it at Wolves. Absolutely loved it. As you say, I had 4 years at Gillingham, 5 years at Wolves, and it was success sort of all the way, really. And then that, I just played for England at that point for Wolves. I was playing extremely well. I was just got in the England squad, but unfortunately, Wolves, we got relegated. And for me, I think I scored in the last 13 games. I scored 7 goals and something else. I was flying. I was doing really well. And for me, I wanted to stay in the England squad. And the only way for me to do that really was to stay in the Premier League. And at that point in time, West Ham got promoted, and my move happened that way. But it wasn't something that I just decided. I did absolutely everything possible at Wolves. I worked extremely hard in the summer. I come back pre-season. I played all the pre-season games. I even started the season at Wolves. Played in the first game away at Leeds. I did everything possible and everything right in the way that the fans hopefully understood my position. And I still go back there now and have a really good rapport with the fans, because it was the only thing I could possibly do to continue my career, and I don't regret it, because it was perfect. I went to West Ham, who just got back into the Premier League via the playoffs, and it was a huge move for me, going back down south as well, where I was from, and we finished 10th in my first season. I mean, it's a fantastic achievement. So for me, it was a must move, and it happened.
And when you went there as the record-breaking signing, there with Big Sam. Big Sam said one of the best final third crosses in the Premier League. He described you. Another pod favourite, Big Sam. What was he like to play for?
Wow, my first ever meeting with him is I actually signed. I'd already signed, and they never take you to the training ground, because the training ground's porta cabins. It's not particularly great. It's completely different now, but when I was there. So you went to the stadium, you did all of that. I signed my deal, and then they took me to the training ground, and Sam was actually in a meeting with the first team. So they walked me to the porta cabin, and then the door opened, and this man, or this figure, just bent down through the door and popped up, and he was huge. You don't really realise. I'd never realised how big he was. He was massive. And he was like, he came out and goes, Jarvo, he goes, is it done? And I was like, yeah. He's like, good lad. Right. And he was like, and he went back in. I was like, right, okay. It's just, it was crazy. But he was, how shall I describe Sam? He was, everyone's like has this opinion of him. He's a very old school manager, but he was the first one with all the new technology and statistics and GPS and everything like that. So it was like a very sort of weird combination. But the team and the player knew exactly what they were supposed to do, their role and responsibility in that team. He was very, very hot on set pieces and the system and watching and going through reviewing the season. But one of the things that I would sort of say when I first went there was we had a meeting, and it was, instead of like our plan for the season, the first season back in the Premier was like to finish 10th, and he was like, right, to finish 10th, what you need to do is you need to have this many wins. He'd gone back and gone through all the stats of the last 10 years or so in the Premier League and gone, right, to finish 10th, you need this many wins, this many draws, this many losses. That's this many goals, this many conceded. That's, he went into massive detail in it all. And then it was like, right, what we're going to do is to break the season up into like sort of 8 game sections, and it was like the first 8 games was like, right, we had, I don't know, a couple of like the big teams and then a few of the middle ones. And he was like, right, our aim is to get 12 points or 10 points, I think it was. And I think we got 14 in the first 8 games. And then you review that and you go, right, that was good. That was great. That's how we can improve. And then that's gone. Then you wipe that clear. And then, right, these are the next 8 games. And you say, oh, right, we'll try and get 8 points because we had a really tough run. And maybe we got 6. But because you got the extra 2 in the previous one, you sort of were still on track. And it just meant mentally, as a player, you looked at it and say you were on a bad run, because, you do get on bad runs sometimes, and you were like, you'd lost 4 in a row or 3 in a row. Maybe sometimes that was like 2 in one and then it was 1 in the other. So you could sort of compartmentalize that was out, that was gone, and you were just focusing on the next. So he was quite good at sort of trying to do stuff like that. But again, the old school manager on the training field that wouldn't really come out on a Monday and Tuesday, but then would come out, and do it that way. So a different style of management.
And what was it like playing at the Bowling Ground?
Amazing. I played and scored there as an away player, and then played and scored as a home player, and it's amazing, the atmosphere, the feeling. You're so close. And as I said about my position being wide, I took all the corners. I took that, so you're literally, people can sort of rip you out and pull you into the thing. You're that close. It's the atmosphere was incredible.
And if we read it right, I think at the time, so you had Mark Noble, Kevin Nolan, Joe Cole, Stuart Downing. What was it like playing with players of that sort of caliber and internationals and
amazing,
Mr. West Ham?
Yeah, exactly that. I think that the squad was really, really good, really close knit, very strong characters. So it made me settle in really quickly. And then, even quite a few of the foreign lads that came, they settled in really well because of that core group. And there was a lot of experienced older players that were really, really on it in the changing room. And I think that's what Kevin Nolan was very good at. Obviously, he'd been with Sam Allardyce, so he knew the way that the manager worked. And he was sort of the link between the changing room and the manager. And he was, if something wasn't right or players weren't happy, he would obviously be the captain and put it on himself to go and have it out with Sam. And they did a fair bit. But he was, that's what Kev was so good at. He was able to take that upon himself and just make sure that the players were supported. And I think that's what Mark Noble then took on, and the whole changing room run itself. Like, the manager didn't have to come into the changing room because of the characters in there, and that's what was great about the club. And as you say about players, I mean, ridiculous players in that changing room. Really, over the time I was there, you can even go into towards the end. You had like Dimitri Payet as well. What a player he was! Lanzini when he first come in. Just fantastic players.
And one of the questions Charlotte put in here said, you've heard about the standout games as West Ham. What was White Hart Lane like? She said, they says in Charlotte's notes here, they used to be tasty games.
100%. I think it's one of them that I remember when I signed. You had like fans saying they didn't mind getting relegated, but as long as they beat Spurs, and you were like, as a player, you're like, I can't quite get that, but you felt it. It was unbelievable, the feeling going into games like that. You could feel it, and just the fans, the the expectation, the importance of that game was huge. So for me, it was great. We played at White Hart Lane in I think it was the Cup. I think it was, I can't remember what round it was, semi-final or something, quarter-final or something like that. And we won 2-1, and I scored, and it was just amazing experience. And that sort of, it was like a big tick for me to be like, yes, I did it in a game of that magnitude. It was just, it was amazing. And the atmosphere there at White Hart Lane in the away end was just, it was going off. It was absolutely going off. And they were always tasty games. Really were, really tasty.
Yeah. And then obviously towards the latter end of your time at West Ham, you then moved over to Norwich. I mean, what was the catalyst for that move?
So the first sort of three and a half years, I pretty much played the majority of the games. I think probably 95% of the games. And in that last season, Sam Allardyce decided to sort of change the formation a bit, and he didn't play with wingers. He played with a diamond, and he didn't quite think that I could be in that top of the diamond. So I found myself sort of sat on the bench for long periods of time. And, some players are happy to do that. Some players aren't. I was one that I hated not playing. I couldn't train all week and not play in the end. It was something that I just didn't want to do. And at the end of that season, we were in Europe. So the following pre-season, all the Europa League qualifying games were played really early. I think they were like the 20th of June or something like that. And so all of the players that played majority of the season, were still away. So I was in and playing and training, and so I played all of them games. And then Slaven Bilic actually came in as manager in pre-season. And I got on really well with him. I actually really liked his training and his methods of going, and how playing and how to close down and different ideas. And I started the season. I played in all the first 5 sort of games of the season. I didn't start any of them, but I played like 25 minutes or half an hour in them. But it got to like the last sort of day of the transfer window. And I spoke to Slaven Bilic, and he just sort of basically said to me that he doesn't want me to leave, but he can't guarantee that I'll play. So it was sort of up to me. And at that point, I was like, okay. And then I remember, like everyone else, I'm sure the same as you, I was sat at home watching transfer deadline day on telly. And then I get a call from my agent to say that Norwich have come in and want me to go on loan. And West Ham have said, okay. So I had like an hour to sort of do the paperwork. And it's a great story because my wife was working, so I couldn't get hold of her. Obviously my printer wasn't working at the time. So I was like, I sort of got in the car and started driving, and I was like, where am I going? I have no idea where I can go to a printer. So I drove home, and luckily I went round to my next door neighbour, and bless her, she's an American lady. I was like, can I come in and just use your computer and like print stuff out? And she was like, yeah, no problem. I was sat there. Yeah, I don't know what time it was. It must have been about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. And I'm in there just printing this off, signing it, and then saying, do you know how to scan it back in? And she was like, not sure. I was like, it's quite important. I need to sort of... but luckily, I managed to get it all scanned and done and sent back. And I had like about 10 minutes before it closed. So it meant that you had an extra like 2 hours to then do the rest of the paperwork. So I was sat there till 11 o'clock at night doing all this paperwork, and then went back home, basically said to my wife, was like, I'm going to Norwich, and packed up a car and drove up to Norwich that night. Got there about 1 a.m. or something like that. It's just so surreal, it just goes like that. Just crazy.
I mean, in a moment, I mean, Sam and Charlotte will ask you sort of about as your career came to its latter stages and what it was like to finish that. So I mean, a question that I had, and you've just mentioned it about transfer deadline day. I mean, as a professional footballer who you've been involved in big transfers, obviously, what's that like? Because it's not. There's so many considerations. What does it feel like to have to deal with all of that in your head?
I mean, that's the only one that I had that was like on transfer deadline day as such. But it's just crazy because I'm sat there thinking I'm not going anywhere, not doing anything, and you sort of then sat there watching like everyone else, enjoying seeing what happens, and then you get that call and it was like you have to make a decision. Like then it's not like you can sit and go, oh well, I'm not sure, I'll speak to this person. It was like you have to make a decision, and you go, right, am I going to stay? Am I going to go and play? Am I going to do what? Where is it? How far is it? At the time, we didn't have kids, so it was like, right, it was just us two. So you sort of like, okay, don't have to think about schools or anything, but we're going to have to move here and do that. It's not something I can commute. So it was, you just sort of got to try and be like, right. For me, it was like I just wanted to play football, so I made that decision and being like, I wanted to go and play and enjoy playing football and just get back to playing week in, week out. And that was ultimately my decision.
Is it easier? Is it easier when you've got to make this decision in like an hour, otherwise it's not going to happen, or when you've got more time to mull and beat yourself up over the decision? Which one did you prefer? Because you've done both.
I think probably just the split decision, because the other one, if it drags and you don't really know what's happening, that is a horrible place to be. So probably that instant decision is probably a better one. Whether that's a good or a bad decision, it's better to get it over and done with quickly.
Yeah, well, it took you from London to Norwich, which was cities go. I mean, I'm not going to besmirch Norwich because I work with somebody who's a massive Norwich fan. So Norwich is wonderful, but it's different, isn't it? London to Norwich, it's a bit different.
Yeah, it was. Obviously, I think everyone knows everyone in Norwich as well. And I mean, when I first went there, all of the fans were like, "Oh, you'll love it. Everyone stays. Once they come, they all stay and they all live around there." And a lot of them do. And it was just, I think that's why the team spirit was so good, because you're with everyone all the time. Everyone lives in and around the same area because you can't go any. It's not like you can nip back out. It's so you're all together, and obviously it's a great club, and I started so well there, so it just made life a lot easier for me. But it didn't quite go as planned after that. But it was certainly a fantastic start.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, Sam and Charlotte, you will pick up in a moment on the tail of Matt's career. But I mean, as being a footballer, everybody sees all the Instagram pictures and all the social media jazz. Is life really that glamorous as a footballer?
As a footballer, no. Don't get me wrong; the highs are amazing. Everyone says about the lifestyle and all that, but you're training, you're then recovering. I was one of them silly footballers that actually didn't play golf. I actually just started that like about a year ago. So I tried to really concentrate on trying to be the best football player I possibly could. But you have to recover. The output that goes into games and training these days is phenomenal. You can see how fit and strong you have to be, and the demands on the body is incredible. So you are, if you're playing in, for instance, you look at the top boys now that are playing in Europe and all of that, you literally have no days off. So you're training, you travel, you play a game, you then recover, you travel. You could be, if you're playing in Europe, you're flying here, there, and everywhere. So actually have that 1 day off or 2 days off. Sometimes you'll have 1 day off in that month, and you just want to either, you then get your opportunity to do whatever you want, I suppose, and obviously then it's enjoyable. But the rest of the time you are actually just training, recovering, and but you're doing something that you absolutely love. So it's there's no low point for me. It's all a massive winning the lottery type of ticket.
I'll jump in here because I've been enjoying just sitting here listening to you, to be honest. Josh, you're doing a great job. You can carry on if you want. Just enjoying listening to your career. Obviously, you talked about so your career, and you were saying how long sort of those days were with training and everything. You obviously then coming up to a transition to the end of your career and say coming towards the end of your playing time. What stage did you start to think about what you might do when your football playing career was over?
To be honest, I remember as a kid, like at Gillingham, I was 17, and all of the first team lads were like, it doesn't last. It goes so quickly. You need to start thinking. And I was like, shut up! I'm 17. I've got ages, and it goes so quickly. But for me, I didn't have an idea exactly what I wanted to do after football. I was solely focused on trying to play as best I possibly could and to continue to improve as a footballer. So I'd had that sole focus of doing that. But when I was at Norwich and I was going through a horrific time with injury, you sort of come to a sort of mental spot where you're like, right, I actually can't do this for the rest of my life. I am going to have to stop at some point. So you start thinking that side of things. But that period in my sort of career or life, I suppose, was the most difficult part I've ever had to do. And I had 4 operations in 3 years. I was going through hell because I was basically in pain, or I couldn't walk properly. And it was just one of them that, I don't know how many people even know, but I got told to retire or suggested to retire by the specialists. I then got offered a year and a bit's money by Norwich to get paid up and go. And me and my wife had just had our first son, and she was back down south and I was just up in Norwich. We made that decision to solely focus on playing, trying to get back fit to play. So I missed out on a lot of my son growing up, and my whole focus was, I turned it all down and said no, because I wanted to have that tough period and missing out on loads of stuff to actually mean something. So I wanted to get back. I wanted to play, but also I wanted to be able to not be in pain, because if I just took the pay up and went, I still wouldn't be able to walk properly. I still have to try and get physio and try and have to do all this. Whereas, I would be there working every single day to try and get myself back fit. So that's what I did. And it wasn't great fun. But I managed to do it. And that's the period that you do start thinking about what you're going to do after, because my wife certainly told me, like, you need to be able to run around in the garden with your son or do something else once you've finished playing. So that is definitely a period in time where you sort of maybe get an injury and you start thinking, well, actually, I'm 31, 32, 33, 34. Actually, this can't last forever.
I mean, say, to go through that many operations and all of that crazy at that point in your career, wanting to come back, to be told that by, say, a specialist, and there must be quite sort of a mental barrier to kind of be fighting with. I imagine you were fighting with yourself. Was there any points in that where you kind of changed your mind? You thought, no, I'm done, or yes, it is? Was it an ongoing battle, or all the way through you were like, no, I'm coming back?
Well, if you ask my wife, she would probably say something different, but no. For me, it was, I never had a thought that I wanted to stop. Never. She did ask me a few times, but no, I was solely focused. I wasn't going to let someone else tell me when my career was over. I think that was the biggest thing. I was going to go out when I was ready, not when someone else told me to. So that was sort of like a that's what I'm going to do. So I had it in my head, and I'm quite stubborn. So I did it. It took me a while, but I did it.
You made it through and did that. And so when that moment eventually came to do it, do you remember there was a specific moment that you realised, okay, now I've got to stop and I've got to move on?
No. So because no, but yes, I basically my contract, I went and I got myself back fit after 3 years, really, and I was still at Norwich, and I was ready. I was fit and ready to go. But obviously, at that time, Norwich were flying in the Championship. They were top, and they were absolutely flying. And I got on really well with the manager, Daniel Farker, and he was like, I don't, it was just before Christmas. I think it was Christmas Eve, and I basically had a meeting with him, and he basically said to me, I would love for you to stay and being around, and I would, you would play, but at the moment I can't guarantee you're going to play. Everyone's flying. Who am I going to take out? He said, I think you should go on loan and get your career back going, and just for you as a person to just go and play. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And they'd accepted an offer from Walsall for me to just go and play until the end of that season, which was like, I think it was about 3 months, really. And I was, as soon as that conversation was had, I was like, fine, all I want to do is play football. I've gone through hell and back to get here, so that's absolutely fine. So I went and played at Walsall, which was amazing. I think my first game was away at Bolton in a cup game, and that just the biggest thing for me was that walk out to the pitch, having the crowd walking out of the tunnel and then lining up, and then that the whistle going and the game starting was something, that feeling that I was craving. And then after 10 minutes, I got my first assist, and then I got another assist in the game. And I mean, we lost the game, but it was just, for me, that individual, that was just what I wanted and what I needed. And it was amazing. And after that season finished, I was free. So I actually went to Woking. I had a call from an unknown number, which I answered, and because I like to know who's calling. I'd been doing a bit of media work, as you say, about what you're going to go into after football. Already been doing quite a bit of media, and I had a call, and then I answered it, and they was like, "Oh, hi, Matt, it's Martin Tyler," and I was like, I recognised the voice, yeah. And then I was thinking, this is great. I'm going to be going on Sky. I'm going to be doing this. And he was like, I don't know if you know, but I'm the assistant manager at Woking. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, no. He was like, oh. And obviously Woking is local to where I am. It backed onto one of I said about Meadow Sports, where I first started. The stadium backs onto that. And he was like, I'd love you to come down and play and train, and if you would sign, that'd be great. And I went down and I played in a game, and I was like, do you know what, this is absolutely perfect. I just want to play football. It was brilliant. So I signed straight away. I signed for the season. I played in my first game. I came on as sub with like 30 minutes to go. I came on, my second touch I scored. I got an assist in the game. We won the game. I scored and got the assist. And then the following week, I came on because I come straight from the hospital. My daughter was born. So I went from the hospital straight to the game, came on, got another assist. I'm thinking, this is amazing. I played 60 minutes, got 1 goal, 2 assists. And then COVID happened. And that was it. Season finished. I was like, I cannot believe this has happened. But then I did sign the following season, which was great. And then it did get to sort of that point towards the end of that season, thinking, I don't know whether this is going to be the time that I then decide, do you know what, I'm going to have to stop. And it got to finish the season, did everything, and it was on my birthday, because my birthday's in May 22nd, so it's right at the end of the season, and I just went, do you know what, that's the time. And I did it then, 35 on my birthday, retired. And I have to say, it was definitely the right decision from all angles. I miss it massively, and I wish I could, but my body couldn't quite continue and do it all. And for me, I have no regrets in my whole career, because apart from maybe going into block tackle with Yaya Toure, which started all my operations. But apart from that, I don't regret anything, because that the best period at the start, and then during, and then obviously the bit of a horrible period, that it makes you who you are, and you realise, and you do everything, and it makes you as a person. So it was the right time.
Absolutely, it was a fantastic career. So I imagine to come to the end of it is always difficult, when it's something you love, and to move on. And as you say, Yaya Toure tackles aside, everything being fantastic. Question I have for you, Connor, generally, because something in football that's obviously probably changed through the period that you've seen improve and advancements in sports science and technology and things. I mean, is that something, do you think we're going to see footballers' careers extended? Do you think with the technology that's out there? I mean, you must have seen some massive advancements while you were playing.
100%, yeah. I think with all of that as well, I think obviously players are a lot fitter, stronger, but actually the mentality is we're not going out all the time. We're eating healthy. We're not drinking. We're doing this. We're doing that. You just can't do it, and that's why players are physically better. They're obviously with all of the training methods. You're not just pre-season and just go and run 30 miles. It's everything's down to the minor detail. Everything's timed. Everything's of a 4 minute segment of running, but it's not just 4 minutes of running. You're doing sprinting for 20 seconds or something, 10 seconds off, but it's all just for a 4 minute block, and then it's done. It's not 4 minutes and 10 seconds, it's 4 minutes, and everything's just minor details. You have all of the finger prick test to show your lactate, to see whether you're one day that the game took a lot out of you, so maybe in the best possible shape you probably shouldn't train that day, and you need to recover more, or you need to it's endless, the stuff that you can go through, and the cryotherapy and the ice baths and all of this recovery that you can use. That's why players are, but they're actually using their brains and jumping on board this and actually doing it, rather than going, yeah, it's all there, but actually I don't want to do it. You're actually finding these players that are actually putting in the work, they're putting in the recovery, and that's why you see someone like Cristiano Ronaldo, that at the age he is and the physicality that he is, because one, he's vain, which is perfectly fine. I am the same, but he dedicates his life to it, and that's ultimately what you have to do, and that's why players probably are now going to last a little bit longer. Although saying that, the Premier League and the intensity and everything is going so far up, and all of these kids now that are getting faster, quicker, stronger at 16, 17, 18, the 30 whatever year olds are going to maybe start to struggle.
And we're now obviously playing another 20 minutes every game as well, but that's another podcast, I think. So in terms of, say, you moved on, you've made a lot of contacts obviously in football. A lot of people, a lot of players you played with, managers and such. Was there people you reached out to when you finished your career to what was next and what your options might be?
Do you know what? It's an amazing thing, but you certainly definitely get, once you retire, it is a bit more like, okay, gone. It's not like the phone keeps ringing, you're doing this and doing that. It is a little bit maybe cutthroat, I suppose, but you have your group, you have your people that you've grew up with, or your family, or your good friends within the football world, and they're the ones you turn to, and they're the ones, like for me, I always wanted to do the media and the punditry and everything, and you start growing that network of people and try your best to get on as much as you possibly can, and obviously I did the training. I spent a lot of time preparing and doing the training with different people to advance my hope of trying to do it full time.
That's great. And I think I was reading as well that you looked at your coaching badges was something that you looked into as well. How did you find that process? Was it enjoyable, very different from what you did, or what did you learn?
That smile.
Exactly, the smile. I did my coaching badges when I was at Norwich, when I was going through all of the injuries, because quite a few of the other lads were doing it, and we were able to do it all at the training ground, so you didn't have to go here, there and everywhere. So it was obviously that helps. But you do start questioning what you're going to do. So I did that, and I'd done all my bad years, which was great. But I felt like once I'd just retired, if I was going to go into doing it, I would have felt like if I was doing it in like a first team environment as such, at any level, I feel like I would have just been a frustrated player rather than a coach at that point. I felt like I would need to have a little bit of a break to then potentially, if I was going to do it, go back into it, because I would have just been like, oh, I'll just do it myself. I should have just come back out of retirement, one of them, rather than being like, no, let's do all the proper coaching methods and do everything. I think I would have just been a bit frustrated. So I have got them, and I'll never say never. But at the moment, I really enjoy doing the media and the punditry side.
Yeah, so we've seen obviously lots of players go different routes and flip back and forth and options. So I suppose you've got the badges, as you say, so they're there if you need them. I mean, you say coaching badges. Was that a thought that the management might have been a thing at one point, or just seeing where it might lead, perhaps? Valencia, I heard, are quite good.
Management, no, I don't think so. I even got asked to do my son's team, and I was like, no. So no, I do like the coaching, and especially sort of maybe like a niche sort of smaller individual type coach. I love being the mentor, that side of things. I still do that to current players that I played with, that were younger when I was with them. I love trying to give them my knowledge and help them in any way I possibly can. But as far as management goes, no, I don't think so.
No. We'll just leave it to Josh. He can football manager on the side. It's fine. It's a much better way of doing it. In terms of sort of preferred styles and coaching in general, though, what do you think you'd be? Are you a tactical Pep, a gegenpressing Klopp, or obviously you've got Big Sam and roots in you as well?
Yeah, do you know what? I think you'd have to, like anyone said, you'd have to take a bit of everyone, and then work out how you would do it. But it is hard because you mold yourself in with the managers that you've worked with. So I would definitely be bringing a lot of all different styles, as well as being a wide player. You want to be exciting and get attacking sort of crosses and interplay and all of that. I wouldn't be all as this inside type players. I'd like to get my wingers out because I like to be that type of player. Stay wide, get grass on your boots. Get paint on your boots and get the crosses in. But you have to have a blend. I think nowadays you can't just be total football and like Pep. I don't think you're once in a lifetime really going to get something like that. So definitely the counter press. I think that is a definite one that I would go for. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, counter press with wide players. There we go. That sounds a decent system to me. And obviously, as you mentioned previously, with your son and your daughter being born at sort of that time, I imagine sort of a young family retiring, a completely new lease of life as well. You enjoyed, the time and getting that back. And as you say, summer holidays, we're all feeling it at the minute as well. So,
oh, I know. The thing is, it is. We decided to wait a little bit longer to have kids. Obviously, in the football world, everyone seems to have them very early. We decided to maybe wait a little bit longer. So I was 30 when we had my son Leo, and obviously missing the first couple of, well, not missing, but not being around as much for the first couple of years. I sort of felt like I missed a little bit of that. So then I had my daughter, and then it was COVID the week after she was born. So I'd gone from, obviously, you say about the adjustment from playing to retirement. I'd gone from being away from home the majority of the time to then being trapped at home, not being no one allowed to go anywhere. So that sort of whole adjustment back into life was an adjustment, obviously for my wife as well as me, being like everyone in there. But it for me, it was great because I was able to be there every single minute of every day for my daughter when she was born, and also have that time with my son. So although COVID was horrendous, it actually sort of helped me in lots of ways. One, from playing, because I didn't just retire and stop. I went from playing full time to part time to COVID to part time to finish. So I didn't just fall off the cliff. I had a long time to sort of process the adjustment of being playing and then part-time and playing and part-time and training on my own a lot as well because of COVID. So I just got used to that sort of, that way of living. And then obviously being, back into home life as well. So it was amazing. I managed to sort of get back into it and enjoy obviously the family life. And you've got to have a lot of energy, especially with boys as well. He's mad football, wants to be outside and do all sorts of different sports. So it definitely do keep me on your toes. That's for sure.
Energy, absolutely. A transition during COVID, on its own, but adding to sort of retirement too. Just a couple more questions from me, and then Charlotte, I'll say, has got a few for you as well. I know. As you're saying about your kind of energy, etc. You're playing a few charity matches as well, kind of legend matches. I think you've been involved in. How are the legs? Was there a moment of? Is there a comeback on the cards?
Honestly, I didn't run, like literally, God's honest truth, I hadn't actually run for about just under 2 years from my last game until Dave Edwards, who was a teammate of mine at Wolves, a really good friend. He had a testimonial and he asked me to play in it. It was Wolves versus our old Wolves team versus a Shrewsbury team, because he's a Shrewsbury legend as well. And he was like, please play. And I was like, I literally haven't done anything because I'll probably hurt myself. It'll be one of them. And I was like, do you know what? I'll play in it. It's fine. I played 90 minutes in this game. I hadn't done anything really. I played 90 minutes in the game. The first half, I was coming short, sprinting in behind. I'd scored. I was like, honestly, half time, I was like, I'm coming out of retirement. This is great. Honestly, I was like, this is great. Second half, I actually scored again in the second half. Amazing free kick, actually. Don't know why I didn't take them when I was playing. It was great. And I was like, and then I just caught one wrong with my ankle, and I could just feel it seizing up. And then I got to the end of the game, played 90, got to the end of the game, and then I literally couldn't walk for a week and a half. I was like, that's why you don't play anymore. I've gone from I'm making a comeback to definitely no. But I had a few people ask me after the game, they're like, oh, come out and play for this, or sign here, play here. I was like, absolutely not. But I did play in another charity one not long ago as well. But it's that was different. The charity one to the testimonial one was very different, because I was playing with all of my old teammates, and it was just amazing to all be back in the same change room together, to play on the pitch together. And then with the charity one, what was sensational for raising funds and the whole camaraderie of that. But it's very different playing in charity games than playing with your teammates. So that was it was a different sort of type and feel of a game. They're both extremely enjoyable. And I didn't get hurt in either, so I was buzzing.
There you go. Result in the end. And final one from me. Obviously, you've had a lot of teams you played for, supporting lots of teams. Since what's been your favourite moment as a fan? What moments has grabbed you?
As a fan, I don't know. I'd say, like, in recent times, obviously West Ham winning Europa Conference League, that was pretty amazing. I'm an ambassador there as well, so I'm at pretty much every home game. So to be in and around that, that was a pretty amazing atmosphere. I was actually at Box Park at Wembley. I'd just come back from North Carolina, where I played in a football tournament actually for West Ham. But it was some atmosphere. I was absolutely drenched in beer, which was great. But what an experience for the fans and for the club. So in recent times, that's just the first thing that popped into my head.
Can I just ask as well? I think I've done my research. Is it true that you are a Manchester United fan?
Obviously, growing up in Guildford,
not bad.
Yeah. Like many Man United fans from the south.
Sam.
Hello.
No, but obviously my questions as well. I know you've been itching to talk about it because we've mentioned it a few times, but obviously the punditry side and the media side. Was it always something that you did want to do? And did anyone in particular inspire you? Because you see, like everyone now, like you've got your Roy Keanes, haven't you? Graham Souness. Was there anyone who in particular inspired you to do that?
Do you know what? I don't know if I really I didn't say and think, right, I'm going to go on the telly and be like a pundit on Sky or wherever. I sort of as a player, especially a young player, I don't know what happens if you're at the big clubs, wherever, Man United or whatever at that particular time. But I was at Gillingham, and you go for a game. After the game, you just get put in front of the camera, and you have to learn right there on the spot what to do. Yeah. And if you say the wrong thing, you get hammered in the press, or you do this, and it gets taken out of context. So I learned very early on, like 17, 18, how to try and speak to the media. And I remember all the way through my career, whatever club I was at, if there was a game that something that was a bit controversial, we didn't play very well, or whatever happened, I was always the one that got put out and go up to speak to the media. They used to call me Tendulkar because I was just like straight back, nothing. Don't give the media anything. It was one of that. Don't say anything controversial. Just go out. So I sort of really enjoyed going out and speaking to the media and doing that side of things anyway. And then you grow relationships with. When I was at Wolves, I had quite a really good relationships with quite a few of the people that were there in the media side, and the same with West Ham when I went there. And you just sort of get used to it and start to actually enjoy it more than it being a chore to go and you're after a game, you're like, I just want to go in and I actually quite enjoyed it. So as my wife would probably say, I like the centre of attention start a bit, but I just enjoyed it, and I then sort of felt like I was obviously quite knowledgeable on the game. I'd been there and done it, and I really enjoyed. If I wasn't going to be able to play it, I was going to be watching it and love it anyway. And if I could actually go on and do, whether it was radio, TV, or whatever, and actually talk about football, it's the best job in the world. So I sort of tried my best to get in as much as I possibly could. Get the training, because it's actually, you don't actually get training when you go through it. Well, I didn't, as a player. And then when you actually do, or I actually did do the training, you sort of come away going, it makes perfect sense. I don't know why I didn't think of that was the way that you would do it anyway. But you just don't. Even like the structure of how you answer the questions and where you do it, and how, the planning and everything. It was quite, it was really great to actually learn and know how to do it properly. So that's the enjoyment factor that I do. And I think a lot of it as well, when you're live, I think it's the only thing that potentially comes close to playing, where you get that little bit of buzz to have that, I don't know, excitement to go, right, I have to perform now. And you sort of go out and do that. So I think that's another thrill to enjoy it.
We do that on here as well. Like it's our little thing, and you get a buzz talking about the Premier League and obviously the lower leagues now. But you mentioned obviously the training as well. Can you give us some tips, because we are extremely biased towards our teams? How are you not biased to obviously the teams that you played for? Because we are extremely biased.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. That is an interesting one. That comes with time and effort. It's difficult, I have to say. And a lot of it is when, so for instance, if I don't know, Wolves played West Ham in the Premier League, and everyone goes, well, who you wanted to win? And you have to be like, well,
everyone, I want us all to win.
I hope it's a 4-all. I hope it's a 4-all thriller.
The double desi.
It is difficult, but I try my best, even when I'm doing anything, like even when sometimes I sort of forget and I'm working for West Ham or I'm working for Wolves, and you start saying, and West Ham, and rather than then going, what? You go, oh, us, sorry. It's you just try and put yourself out of the box a little bit and be like, right, okay, try and be professional. Yeah, that's it.
I know obviously you've mentioned you do some stuff on TV, radio. Is there anybody in particular you do like working with?
God, I mean, I've been very lucky.
Yeah.
I've had some really, really good, whether it was on like Sky Sports News or BT Sport. My first sort of real one was when I was Wolves were in the Europa League, and I worked for BT Sport, and I did their Europa League campaign, and that was a big sort of. I was like, wow! I was sat next to Owen Hargreaves at the time. And then you had Jake Humphreys was the presenter, and that was like a massive eye opener. Really, I remember it was funny. They were talking about this was just a one quick story. It made me feel about this big. We were chatting away, and Jake was asking a question about because one particular player was playing out of position in this game, and they were talking about it. And they were talking to me and said, "Oh, have you ever had to play out of position?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I've had to do this, this, and this." Just sort of, yeah. And then they went to Owen, and he went, "It was, oh yeah, well in the Champions League final, I had to play out of position and mark, and yeah, and it was fine, and we won the game, and we won the champion." I was like, "Yeah, like, okay, yeah, that." There you go. But they've all been brilliant. I've been very fortunate that nowadays everyone's really, really switched on. They're all very helpful. I've done a lot with the National League as well with Matt Smith as a presenter. He's been great with me as well. But you just pick up with loads of different people, even the pundits that you're on with. You pick up a rapport, and it's nice. I'm starting to really enjoy doing the co-commentary as well, because that's a whole new sort of world. You have to have, you have like, I've learned very quickly that once the ball goes into the attacking third, that's them. You don't speak. That's their job. Then once anything's happened, then you speak. It was but I really enjoy doing that. So that's again where you have to work with different commentators, that they're the head commentator, and you're the one that just sort of talks about what's just happened rather than what's happening at the time. So I couldn't pick one particular person, but they've all been very, very helpful in my development, I suppose.
Oh, I love that. And obviously, not just the TV side, the media side, but you are an ambassador for several roles as well. Obviously, you mentioned West Ham, British Heart Foundation, the Prince's Trust. What does an ambassador role kind of entail? Can you tell us a bit more?
Yeah, of course. I'm also an ambassador for Bobby Coppin Foundation as well.
Oh, brilliant.
He's that's been the past sort of, I don't know, 6 to 8 months. It's been great. He's a fantastic person as well. Is what he's trying to achieve with his foundation as well. But for me, an ambassador with regards to West Ham is my role is to be there on match days, doing the like Q&As and in either hosting or if there's a corporate event or something, to be there and to help and mingle with everyone, whether that's on a match day or whether that's another event, here, their sponsors, different bits and pieces to represent the club. The British Heart Foundation and the Prince's Trust I've done for many, many, many years. I think it's about 12, 13 years really. And it's just some of the experiences that you get from that is amazing. I've done a few with the Prince's Trust where you go to workshops and there's a group of either kids or groups of different people that are trying to set up or do different roles within the community. And what they do is fantastic. They made this basically got everyone together, and they helped build part of a church or helped decorate and build. And it just getting communities together. So just going there and being a presence, I suppose, and answering questions and just being able to oversee and help in any way you possibly can is always nice to give back. And to be honest, it's also amazing for yourself to go and it gives you something back as well, which is amazing.
Yeah, it must be so rewarding. And obviously you're an ambassador, but is there anything that we could do, like us as a podcast, just anybody watching this, to kind of show our support to these charities?
Cool. I mean, there's loads of things. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
there's another one, Dom's Food Mission. There's a guy that I know really well who does a fantastic job. He's based in Brighton. He basically is feeding families and kids and that are underprivileged and that really can't feed themselves. And he's doing an incredible job of basically feeding everyone. He's been asked to go to the not it's been to the I think it was the Queen at that point, gone seen everyone, and what he's doing is incredible. So anything being I'm sure he's got some bits and pieces that you could possibly help with. I'm sure that will go down
definitely.
well.
100%, because we're always as a podcast, but just us in general, we always want to help people out, or if we can like plug them or just share anything in any way, we're one of them. We like giving back as well. So yeah,
It's
if there's
fantastic.
if there's any links or anything you can send us, or
Certainly.
anything we can do to contact them to try and help, we'll be happy to.
Amazing. Perfect.
And obviously, just on kind of the mental health kind of thing as a footballer, because it must be so hard. You've been very open in the past, and obviously, I've done my research, and I read an article actually that obviously you did an interview and you just spoke about your struggles as well. How draining is it mentally, like being a footballer on the dark days? Obviously, you mentioned your injuries as well.
Yeah, I've always tried to be as open and honest because
Yeah.
everyone thinks you're this all oracle type of people, these
Yeah.
footballers, but you're just normal people. It's you're very fortunate in the sense that of what comes with all of playing football, but what people don't sometimes forget is the sacrifice that you've made to get yourself there, especially as a kid. My wife always jokes at me that you didn't have a childhood because I didn't do anything. Well, actually, I did. I played football. I trained. I dedicated my life to it. I absolutely loved my childhood because I was doing what I wanted to do. But it's the other side of things that definitely, we're like anyone else. You do have dark days. You have, mine in particular. I can only speak for myself. Mine was obviously purely and simply down to injuries. It's really difficult to sort of go through that and still be in pain. I couldn't walk basically without being in pain, and when you go through that for a couple of years, you just sort of think, is this ever going to change? You're doing absolutely everything. You've had this surgery, you've seen this person, you've done this amount of exercise and training and different things to try and do it, and nothing seems to work. You do sort of put yourself in tough positions. But for me, I wouldn't. It got to a point. I think my wife came up with my son, and she just sort of saw that I literally would just, it'll be the same, like repeat every day. I'd go into training, I'd be there all day. I'd come back from training, I'd cook my dinner, I'd go to bed, I'd go back to training. That was my life at that point. And all I wanted to do was get back and play football. And you're getting hammered by certain people on socials because someone says, "Oh, you picked up an under injury. How's he doing this, doing that, or whatever?" And I was always just like, I would love to just turn around to these people and just go, "I'll tell you what, just come for one day with me and see what I do, and see if you could do any of that." If you come in, it's not just come in, have a little rub, and go in the bath and go home. I was abusing my body every day to try and get myself back fit, and that's the other side that people don't see. But also is as you say, the mental side of things. I sort of like, as I mentioned, my wife came out. That was the one time I sort of come back from training. I just sat on the sofa and just cried because I couldn't really take it anymore. I was in pain. I couldn't walk. I found it. That was sort of my outpour, I suppose. And that was when I suppose I've not felt better, but I just sort of realised that that is where I need to be. I need to get sorted. I need to just grind through it to make sure that I can get out the other side. And you know, a lot of people don't have the support around them. I'm very lucky. I've got, you know, I've got a great family around me. I've got great friends around me. My wife's been amazing with me on that side of things. Her family as well. So it's the people that are around you. I suppose I say it's not lucky, but when I was at Norwich at that particular time, there was a guy called Louis Thompson and Carlton Morris, who's now at Luton, scored in the Premier League opener. They both had long-term injuries. Carlton had just done his ACL, and Louis had he snapped his Achilles for the second time. He'd just done it and re-ruptured it and come back. So the three of us were sort of there all together, and we were going through similar sort of things. You know, it was we weren't fit next week. We were fit in 8 months' time. You know, so some days you come in, you've either had a bit of a knockback and something's sort of, your ankle's more sore than it was the day before, or your knee's more sore, or whatever it was, and you had to go on the bike and do these altitude spin sessions, and you'd be like, I don't want to do it today. And the other two were like, no, come on, you got to do it. You know, do it. And you sort of get through it and you pull yourself through. And other days you'll be feeling good and they're not, and you're like, no, come on. And you get through another gym session, you do that, and you get that bit of camaraderie, a bit of team spirit to sort of pull you through. Because if you're on your own every day doing it, it's demoralizing. You're looking out onto the pitch where you're in the gym, and the majority of the times the training pitch is right outside. So you're looking at everyone else training and you can't do it. So that's the other side that's very difficult. And especially as I haven't really touched on the social media side of things, but
that was my next question. Yeah, I was just about to say, obviously, like, social media can be, well, the internet can be such a fantastic place, but obviously social media, obviously we've got a community here and it's brilliant, like the podcast, and obviously you meet people and the contacts. That's a brilliant side of it, but there's also a really bad side of it. And me myself, like being a female that obviously is into football, likes football, I get my fair share of abuse. But obviously you're a professional footballer, you've been in the limelight. How have your experiences been on social media? Because I can imagine you get so many like positive comments, but there's also the negative ones as well, isn't there?
Certainly. I mean, sometimes it's one of them. If you had a good game, you like reading all of the positive ones, and then when you don't have a good game, you sort of don't look. But like, you know, I've been through it, you know, many years. That you sort of you shouldn't get used to it, but you sort of used to have thicker skin, and you just brush it off, and you can only concentrate on what you do. Especially, I had numerous opportunities. I wish I had this sort of mindset when I was a bit earlier on when I was playing, because I'd if I had a bad game and or the team didn't win, not even if I didn't have a good game, the team didn't win, and I had that was on the Saturday, and I was doing something out on the Saturday night, not even going clubbing, going out for a meal or doing something like that, I would cancel and I would just go home, and I'd be like, why now I look back and go, why did I do that? I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was just going, but that's the pressure that comes with the social media side of things, and the abuse that you could potentially get and receive. Or if you're out and someone spots you and doesn't agree with what you're doing, you just put yourself in these situations where you don't need to be in. So I just took myself out of that. And you know, sometimes you just think, well, you shouldn't do that just for other people. You've got to be able to just go and do what you want to do and enjoy your life. It's no one else's.
You kind of answered my last question as well. I was going to say, to anyone who's obviously involved in football, who's like, or anybody just in general watching this, who is getting like abuse on social media, or who is having a down day, or who is struggling, like, what would you say to them to deal with like what's happening right now?
Yeah, I think if I'm perfectly honest, when I went through, especially the injuries, I think everyone just says you need to be positive, you need to this, you need to this.
Yeah.
I actually think you need a few days to mourn or to be down, to, you know, have your, oh, this is not fair, why me, do this. And I think you genuinely, I think I needed it, but you have to snap yourself out of it after 1 or 2 days. You can't let it linger.
Yeah.
But I genuinely think you need to have them days, because you need to have that mentality and the oomph to get yourself out and go right. This is it now. I've had my time. I'm going to go and attack it now. And I think you can sort of maybe not quite so do that with regards to the social media. I think that's a difficult one to navigate, because I think if you put yourself and expose yourself to be on it, you've got to take the highs with the lows. You just got the way I lived my whole life is not to be like that. Is you try and just stay quite steady, and you enjoy the highs, and you have to take the lows. And as long as you're true to yourself, you don't go around. If you don't, like for me, I don't hammer anyone, even when I'm doing the punditry. Maybe I should do sometimes, because maybe I should, but I try and do it in the right way. If I didn't want to have that myself, I wouldn't give it out. So I try to do that the same whenever I'm doing on the social media or anything like that. That if I wouldn't want that myself, I wouldn't give it out to anyone. So I find that you just have to be yourself, and if you can't be yourself, there's no point. I think you have to just go and enjoy what you want to do, and if people don't like it, that's on them. It's not on you.
Love that.
I mean, that's excellent. And I mean, I will say,
I can say that now because I'm retired.
I mean, I was going to say one thing I am going to correct you on is you did say about footballers are just ordinary people. I would disagree. I don't think you're just an ordinary person. I'm genuinely so appreciative of you being here. I think you're a very special person, and all the stuff that you've done is just fantastic. But moving on, we've kept you for much longer than I told you we were. And I really do apologise that we might go to tail end. But I mean, as I said, the fact that you're here shows what a special person you are. But there are other special fans that we have of the podcast, and we have asked some of these to ask us questions to ask you. I'll try and get through some of these swiftly initially, and then we do have some from our very super duper special fans. The first question we have: was Dean Ashton really that good?
I never actually played with Dean Ashton, but from what I've been told, yes, he really was. So I would have to say yes.
And who was the best player you swapped shirts with?
Oh, do you know what? I never really. I was too sort of, I think, embarrassed really to go up and start asking for shirts. So I used to swap shirts with ex-teammates and players that I played with. So, but I mean, I did get some decent shirts, but I'd probably just have like some of my teammates that I played with. I now look back, the only shirt that I wish I got was Giggs, because he was sort of my idol growing up, but I missed it. Someone else got it there before me.
And another question would be, you made your international debut at Wembley. Were you able to fully take in and enjoy the occasion, or were you just focused on the game and fulfilling your role on the pitch?
You try. I have to say, you try to fully take in everything, and I tried to, especially because I was a sub. You do all the warm up, so you're looking around, taking it all in. I was at Wembley, so it was just dreams come true. And then the game's going on, so you're warming up. You're trying to look around in the fans and the atmosphere in the game, and at half time exactly the same. And also when you get that, and you're sprinting back to put your shirt on, and you try to take it all in. The biggest memory I have on that is actually when the number went up and Jack Wilshere came off and I came on, and I just remember thinking to myself, like, you've done it. No one could take this moment away from you. And then you sort of just try and quickly snap into, right, it's back into playing football. I also remember just before coming on thinking, put my shirt on going, don't look nervous, don't look nervous, don't look nervous, because the camera's just going to be bang on you. And being thinking, but
another question, this wasn't from me, but there were talks of a huge move of you to Liverpool. How close was that to becoming a reality, and were there any other moves that nearly came to be?
I don't know how close that was. There was definite rumours. There was Liverpool, there was Everton, there was a few others as well. But I don't know how. I was also Fulham. But as far as close, I'm not sure. I have to say, at one point, I was quite close to joining QPR as well, but nothing ever happened.
I would have liked you at Liverpool. That would have made me quite happy. And I don't think I've missed any out. The last question I've got, and this one isn't from Scoops. This is from an entirely different person that follows. I get in a massive.
Absolutely massive. I had a message from the owner, and he put on his bottoms just to let you know, Gillingham are massive.
I love it.
Well, they must be, but I still get it wrong. Gillingham or Gillingham. I say it wrong every single time. I never know which one I say either. So apologies to any Gillingham fans. I've said it every way, I think, so far in this podcast. But we are coming to tell. There's two more sections to go. This is from our special fans. Their next set of questions.
Hi, Matt. What's your highlight of your football career?
Oh, highlight. I think for me, it's the pinnacle is playing for your country. So playing for England at Wembley, nothing really can come close to that.
Superb.
Hi, my name is John. I wanted to ask, what was your toughest game?
Oh, it's a really difficult one. I would have to say that it maybe not been my toughest game, but it was one that sticks out in my mind. It was when I was at Wolves, we first got promoted to the Premier League, and we played Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, and we got beat 4-0. And I remember there was Juan Mata, William, Hazard, and someone else, and Ashley Cole were on the side that I was, and I could not get close to anyone. It was just bot. And it was a massive, like, oh wow, this is the Premier League. So it was a huge eye opener, but one that it was, it sticks out in my mind.
If you could have played for any football team, who would it be?
I've played for everyone that I wanted to play for. I can't.
I was hoping you'd say Rochdale.
It depends on the score.
We lost. Damn. We need you.
I love a goal celebration. What was your favourite goal celebration when you scored?
What a great question. Well, I didn't really have that many celebrations, but on one particular time, as me and my school friends growing up, we always had this thing where we used to do goggles. Wherever we always used to just go like that. And I don't know, childish, but it was good fun. And I said to them, we were on holiday, and I said, look, honestly, next one, I'll do it. And I did it. And funny enough, it was, I was playing for Wolves against West Ham, live on Sky at Upton Park. And we won, I scored, and I ran off to the corner and did the goggles.
I love it.
When you were younger, which skills did you practice?
Cool, another good one. I tried my best to practice stepovers. I don't think I ever really mastered it because I used to always just do basically a shoulder shuffle and knock it as fast as I could. But I definitely stepovers, especially for a wide player, they were a huge trade to do.
Hi, I'm Oliver. I'm from Haywood, and I've got a question for you. Who is your favourite player you've ever played against?
That's so difficult. I played against so many amazing players, but I think because I idolised him growing up, and I played in the same position as him, and I played and managed to play against him numerous times, I'd have to probably say Ryan Giggs.
Who's your footballing hero?
Well, one is obviously Ryan Giggs, but before Ryan Giggs, I don't know how, but my parents obviously must have given it, or someone got it for me, and it was Gary Lineker's 47 goals for England or whatever it was on a VHS, and I used to watch that all the time, and then I used to try and watch him playing for Spurs at the time. So it was first off was Gary Lineker, and then as I got into a position as a kid, it was Ryan Giggs.
What strengths do you think an attacking player should have?
Strengths, confidence in themselves, belief in themselves to actually do something that others wouldn't do, not to play safe, and to use their mind to be creative. It doesn't have to be the quickest, strongest, whatever. You just have to believe in yourself to actually go and do something that's different.
Oh, and that was the last of my young fans. Thank you very much for that. And that does bring us to the last section of the show. It is everybody's favorite. It is probably the section with the greatest intro video you'll probably ever get to see.
The question with only 2 answers. Absolutely or absolutely not.
Absolutely.
No. Absolutely not.
Absolutely.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not, mate. Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh yes, absolutely.
Absolutely not.
So here it comes, the question with only 2 answers. Absolutely or absolutely not.
I bet you forgot that was coming, Char.
I'm so embarrassed. I never thought we would ever get an ex-professional footballer and he played for England on this show, and now I'm so embarrassed. Never mind.
Go on then, Sam.
There we
Take it
go.
away.
Let's take it on. Production values at its highest. Of course, yes. As you may have guessed from the intro, this is the game we like to play with our guests called Absolutely or Absolutely Not. And so we have 2 variations of it. If we've got sort of fan podcast on, it's who they want in and out their club and whatever. But with guests who have played, we're a lot more trying to be a bit more fair, I suppose. Is that do you prefer one player over another in kind of general? So we've got 6 players to choose from, and the answer is absolutely or absolutely not. So we'll kick off with the age-old debate. Are you Ronaldo over Messi?
Oh, that's just a horrible one to start. I was always a Ronaldo. I was always a Ronaldo, probably until about 2 year ago. But I'm going to have to stick with him. It's a difficult one.
Okay.
I'll have to stick with him.
Absolutely for Ronaldo.
My son's going to be chuffed to bits.
We have, so if you're West Ham, Jared Bowen or side Ben Rama? Absolutely Jared Bowen over Ben Rama or absolutely not?
Absolutely.
Absolutely to Jared Bowen. Fantastic. I've set my Alexa off again. I don't know what we've trying to play side Ben Rama song, I think. So we'll have to see if that comes on. Next up to Wolves, Pedro Neto, Matheus Nunes.
Oh, they're 2 different players. They're totally different players. That is so difficult. 2 different players. I'm going to go. Neto's a winger. Nunes is a central mid. Oh God, absolutely.
Absolutely, Pedro Neto. I think he's going to go with a winger. He's going to go with a winger, Pedro Neto. Clearly the one. And again, another tough one. Some toughies here.
Oh.
Absolutely Declan Rice. Absolutely not Jude Bellingham.
How can you give me that? I can't believe you've given me that. Wow. How can I? Oh my God. Absolutely not. I'm so sorry, Declan Rice.
Absolutely not. It's a super tough one. Absolutely not. Carlton Cole or Andy Carroll.
I see Coley all the time. Oh my God. I'm going to go just because I played really well with him. I'm going to go absolutely not.
Absolutely not, Andy Carroll. I'm sure. Yeah, he loved your deliveries. I'm absolutely sure about that. And last up, it's a simple one. Absolutely Haaland or absolutely not the Terminator.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, it's different. It's a different breed. There needs be no more models of Haaland. We all know what he's about.
It's phenomenal.
There we go. That's the end of our absolutely not game. Thank you very much. I know there were some very difficult ones that we put you on the spot with you there.
Can't believe some of them.
I mean, and that was absolutely superb. I mean, a massive thank you, Matt. First of all, for agreeing to come on. I mean, for a growing podcast like ourselves, genuinely, I've no idea how much it means to us. It's really, really special to have you here. So we really appreciate, first of all, you coming on. Secondly, for staying here for so long. I feel awful. but
I just looked at my phone and I was like, oh.
It's because you had so much fun. The time just flew by. You didn't even know what's going on.
I have to say, do you know, when we were talking about it, I had one thing that I was gonna because we were saying all about this and you were saying about your career and everything, and I said, I was thinking, you never think about your career until you sort of, and it was only lockdown when everyone started doing podcasts, and I went on and did a few, and they were talking about my career, and I was like, yeah, it was all right. I thought, yeah, it's all right, because you just always on to the next thing and the next thing, next game, next thing. You never think about it, so it's nice to come on and do podcasts and reminisce and do all of that, and I do sort of pick and choose which ones I do, so it's nice to come on to this one.
No, generally, it's amazing for us to talk to somebody who's done the things we dream of. I mean, because what I didn't realize was we're the same age. You're going to have to give me a skincare regime, your dietary regime, because there's a vast difference here. There's 2 months between us. I've never felt so awful in all my life. But the things that you've done, the people that you've played with, what a career you've had, and you've not just played that career and played with them, but you've played them well. You've won, you've scored goals, you've won the prizes, won the accolades, and generally, what a career! It's amazing. And again, massive thank you for coming on. Congratulations on everything that you've done. We sincerely wish you all of the best in your future endeavors. And as I said at the start of the pod, if ever you've got anything to promote, you've got your book, your movie, The Life and Times of Matt Jarvis, we're always here to help you promote and push that one out.
Well, as I said, it won't be long. I've got something. I'm going to be doing something on my socials called Jarvis TARDIS Football Rewind. So you'll have to come on and pick a game that you would like to reminisce about. Maybe it's a Rochdale game.
Istanbul Champions League.
I wouldn't put you through the pain. Don't worry.
My evening after the Istanbul Champions League, I remember aspects of it, but that was great. But I won't labour the point, although I already have. Massive thank you so much. What a fantastic person to have come on, and as a man, it's superb. Well done in all your career, everything you've achieved, and we genuinely wish you the best all of your future endeavours. Hopefully, this won't be the last time we speak to you. To everybody that's watched this, thank you so much. Please follow, subscribe, like all of that jazz, and show Matt some love, because this has been absolutely superb. Thank you once again, Matt, and TTFN, and ta-ta for now.